वेलकम बैक ऑल द पार्टिसिपेंट्स। जैसे कि आपको सेशन से पहले पहले जो सेशन हुआ था तृप्ति मैम का, तो उस बताया गया था जो फर्स्ट सेशन वो ले रही हैं सेल्फ। अपने आप को समझ वाकई में एक बहुत चैलेंज सोचते हैं कि हाँ हम बहुत अच्छे से जानते हैं सबसे। सो हमारे जो थर्ड सेशन का डे का प्रोग्राम है, तो दैट विल बी टेकन बाय भारती पुष्करना मैम, एंड इट्स ओवर टू यू मैम। द स्टेज इज ऑल योर्स।
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Neha ma'am. And very good evening to all of you. It's my pleasure to be connecting with you all once again. And as Neha ma'am has given a very brief introduction, that we all presume that we know ourselves very well. We are aware about our strengths, weaknesses. But in reality, dear friends, it's very difficult to know ourselves because of the complexity of the various factors. And today, before I begin my session on understanding self, we all must be very clear, dear educators, that this session is basically pertaining to the vision of ourselves, our children, in building self reliant India, and by shedding the light on new education policy. As far as you all are concerned, you all are very intelligent, very interactive, as I could see in the past sessions, the interaction level with the RPs, and I'm sure the same vision you must be carrying in your respective classrooms as well. So, without taking much of your time, the flow of the webinar, how am I going to unfold this session with you all? I would be talking to you all on that. But before that, as we've been talking about learning objectives or learning outcomes. So, here, first of all, I must make you very clear that normally the term self is taken for granted. I'm not talking on the basis of any gender differences. I'm not talking on the basis of any caste, creed, religion. When we talk about humankind, that means we all humans. We take ourselves for granted and hardly we delve into our own behavior. So this session would be unfolding about knowing oneself and significance of developing a positive sense of self among children, because ultimately we all understand that our work as a career, as a livelihood, and as a career, as well as a calling, has got ultimate goal. Ultimate goal is of nation building and developing a positive sense of self among our children. एंड वेयर इन वी शैल अंडरस्टैंड जहाँ हमें उनकी डिफरेंट फैक्टर्स का मालूम है कि वो किस बैकग्राउंड से हैं, उनका एजुकेशनल स्टेटस क्या है, उनका इमोशनल स्टेटस क्या है, उनका सोशो इकोनॉमिक एंड बिहेवियरल स्टेटस क्या है. When we keep all these factors into the mind, we have a better ability, better command to make the classroom ambience more happier. Of course, we all are doing happiness curriculum with the happiness quotient. There's so many things which keep, making us, which keep us on toes and which keep us evolving our own selves. So, we understand the characteristics of self during infancy, childhood, and adolescence. And who else knows better than about Erikson stages than the home scientists? So, a peep into Erickson's stages for the better understanding and principles to strengthen self and during the aftermath of COVID-19. Because right now, the only connect with our student is through the online, only through the social media platform. So, what are the principles? How can we empower our children, can strengthen our classroom with the four-dimensional model of it? And then strategies to connect with children for better understanding and NEP vision for strengthening for self-reliant India and Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? So I'm sure all my friends are absolutely ready to take a complete lead while interacting with each other, and how can we develop. And I'm sure, dear friends, dear educators, you all would agree with me, because this platform is for learning, the new learning, unlearning the past, and of course, now relearning it with the present pandemic situation, in the present COVID-19 situation. So, here, as I said, that meaning of self, I think you can put down in your chat box also that how do we define ourselves? If I give you this half a minute exercise, how would you define yourself? Please write down about yourself. You can write down in the chat box. How would you define yourself? How would you define yourself? You can put it in the chat box as well. Yeah. So the chat box is open to everyone. Um, let's define ourselves. First of all, how do we define ourselves? I'm just writing to all. Yeah. So how do we define ourselves? What is the concept of ourselves? How would you define yourself? Yes. Yeah, I'm friendly, fun loving, yeah, always helpful, a friendly person with positive attitude. Pooja ma'am is writing, yeah, very, very right. Hard worker, sensible, sensitive. By Nupur ma'am, she's writing. And then from Sapna ma'am, an educator who builds future of the nation. An introvert, absolutely, absolutely fine. So here what we see, that when we are talking about ourselves, we have come up with the different characteristics. Somebody says that I'm fun loving, somebody says I am, hardworking, I am there an educator, first of all, for the nation building. So when we are taking up these sessions, it becomes very important and very imperative for us to understand that what we think of ourselves, what are our traits, characteristics, and what is our goal, aim and objectives, and of course, the self-knowledge. When I talk about self-knowledge, I do not exactly mean to say that having 3 hours knowledge is the best knowledge. I'm talking about real life education as well. And then how do you see yourself and perceive yourself? Because that's very important in the light of the social identity and the personal identity. Now, next we move on. When we're talking about it, next we take up that understanding self. Because the very first line, when I say respect and accept that we all are different, the moment this understanding comes to me, I think by and by, you start understanding the other perspective as well. So we understand that all of us are unique by default. No two individuals are same. No two individuals are replica of each other or identical of each other. They may reflect some of the characteristics, but the fact is that we all are different, and there lies the beauty in that asymmetric line of self. So when we talk about physical self, because as you have written, I analyze environment and act accordingly with children, positive in most of the cases, optimistic. So we are talking about feelings. I'm talking about my physical self, emotional self, mental self, and the roles we perform and the relationships we are involved into it. Because there is one self, I, which revolves around the various different roles given by the society, taken by us, assuming responsibilities and staying connected. So I'm sure, dear friends, we are very clear till this point. And then when we talk about self, we say that it can be divided as personal as well as social self. Personal, when I talk about, I say the term self refers to the totality of a person's experiences, my ideas, my thoughts. How do I see myself? This is very important. And I would request everyone, you are looking at this image. I'm sure you all are able to see this image. What does this image reflect? A small exercise for you all. What does this image reflect to you? I'm just typing. What does this image reflect? So you can give your answer. What does this image reflect to us? We can talk about image reflection. The moment you see this, what does it reflect to us? Yes. Uh, I'm asking, yeah, here we are. How do you perceive yourself? The moment you are seeing this image, how a person in this image is, reflecting itself. So you can see there are plenty of thoughts. I would request you all to please put down your thoughts in the chat box so I can read. And dear friends, first of all, here we are not being judgmental. We are not being absolutely analyzing each other personality. Absolutely no, because I want to clear this doubt and misconception that none of us should think. हमें ये नहीं सोचना कि अगर मैं ये लिखती हूँ तो क्या मेरे को ऐसे एनालिसिस किया जाएगा, नहीं. आज ये जो सेशन है, it is purely based upon our sharing, where we, through this exercise, we are accepting that yes, we are different from each other. Yes, you can, very good. Pooja ma'am had said that we can see both the sides, positive and negative. Exactly, very well said. And it is showing the way we see things, what we are, from Savita ma'am, very rightly said. So here we are talking about that we are unlocking the secrets of our self-awareness, as Pooja ma'am very rightly said, which can be both positive as well as negative, right? So the moment I perceive myself, what I think about myself, like I say, I am confident, I am a little introvert, I'm curious. I have that curiosity to learn, to try on to the new things. And remember, dear friends, as I say, one of the caption here says that I feel like queen. I am queen. Yes, you all are. The moment you enter, or the moment I enter into the classroom, I feel like that this is my state, because children are looking up to me. They are imitating me, my verbal, non-verbal gestures, and many things they are absorbing unsaid, unofficially. I think all of us have experience as an educator. So here we are saying that our thoughts, feelings with regard to herself, himself, the idea which we hold about ourselves. So it is a very peculiar way in which we can define ourselves. Now, here I'm talking about, like as one of you said, that how positively I think about myself, right? How am I feeling? What is my desire? What is my goal? The courage. First of all, whatever I'm expecting in my students, do I possess that? Am I experiencing those feelings which I'm asking or which I'm looking forward in my students to develop? Because the very first, second line, talking, knowing about oneself, and then how to develop a positive sense of self among our children. Because ultimate, dear friends, when we are analyzing ourselves, when we are knowing about ourselves, when we are having a deep dive down into the realms of ourselves, we understand that we are there because the moment I'm aware about me as an individual, I have that self mindfulness, I will be able to deliver better in terms of my potential, in terms of all my relations, where I need to balance my work life balance force, which is rotating around my personal self and my professional self. These two cells are not different, they are interrelated with each other. And I'm sure because all of us, we don't carry our personal selves, emotional baggages to our professional platform. So that means exhibiting the positive self. Now, when I say how to work onto your positive self, you're dealing with this chapter with your students, and this chapter, knowing, understanding self, is the baseline for all the lessons. It is a lifeline, dear friends, because the moment I'm able to make it out very clear about my characteristics, about my potential, about my strength, about my weaknesses, about my opportunities given to me, provided to me, the moment I become aware of it, half of my battle is won. Where I'm producing children to be the thinkers, not simply the rote learners. Where I'm giving an opportunity to my students to do the things and to show the right directions to them in terms of the career ahead they have, in terms of their family, their relations, their peer group. So for this, dear friends, very few pointers I have created. This is like creating your own diary or journal. You can give this exercise, and we all can do. And believe me, dear friends, until this age, I always write my small diary daily. That how I felt yesterday, and then yes, at night, when it's a time when everything is calmed down, there is a little time to my own self, and then I think about it. That okay, yes, yeah, Sneha ma'am, very rightly. Yeah, could you please repeat your point? You were saying something. Yes, Sneha ma'am. Sneha ma'am, you would like to say something? Uh, Actually, your voice isn't audible. So, okay. So, we were talking about that creating our own diary or journal, which gives me a clear guide that how, if I come across a similar kind of a situation, or the same situation, how am I going to give my reaction to that particular stimulation? And then writing down the events which are affecting me. I understand this pandemic time was really very crucial time for all of us. It is, even now also, back home, whatever. But then, yes, dear friends, you all are Corona warriors. The kind of transformative module we all had taken from offline to online, getting connect with the child, having communication with every child, had given us little smoother sailing. So the events which are affecting me, maybe it can be a behavior of any child in a class or outside the classroom. So analyze negative experience and focusing what we have learned from it, you know, because it's not that negative experience. I have come across certain negative experiences while dealing with my students or in my place of work or at my personal level. Does it mean that it can tarnish myself forever? Can tarnish the image of myself forever in my own eyes? So, these are the things where we are learning and letting go, dear friends. Then embrace our uniqueness. The moment I say that we are unique, respecting and accepting that we all are different, each one of us, each one of you should take a pride in having what you have and conveying the same to our children when we are there with them in the classrooms. Dear friends, believe me, our children must be highly techno savvy. must be far ahead than us, because we understand they are children of 21st century, where they have a very broad exposure, where they can differentiate between right or wrong, where they can choose between right or wrong, and so on. But at the same time, our role becomes very important as a facilitator and as a guide. And there we need to reschedule our own expectations from our children. So, moving on to my next slide, where I'm talking about, when we're talking about working on positive self on our children, right? We have positive me, where you give the task to children, give them small projects, where they start taking responsibility, make them responsible, and then have a set of beliefs and judgment. When I talk about defining beliefs, skills, or competencies, we understand that belief is something like we just presume, which may or may not exist. So the positive me, all these points you can ask the children and give them in the class and ask them to reflect upon that what are their beliefs, what are their core competencies, and what they think about it. And managing your world. Now, the moment I say managing your own world, as I say that morning when I start my day, I always talk to myself and ask that today, am I going to make my day full of heaven, or am I going to create a hell for myself? Every negative stimulation, every positive stimulation, I visualize for a fraction of a second. And dear friends, that set of belief, that set of judgment, we have to create in our children. And so that they can manage their own world with positivity and with the best of their competencies and so on, right? So for this, there are small exercises, very important. Children may be the children of 21st century, very, very fast. You give them a task, if they are absolutely ready to do, they go ahead. Within fractional seconds, you have to just ignite that flame in them by creating positive me, giving them a timetable, being flexible and firm. I remember the last session when I was taking. So they were teachers, they said, ma'am, despite our continuous efforts, the students do not submit the work. My dear friends, as I said, that you're a queen, you are that positive me of your own respective class. You have to connect with them in understanding that what could be the possible reasons. But at the same time, we don't have to leave that rope from our hand. That connect, that string. Otherwise, all these pearls will diffuse away. I hope we are in sync with each other, what we are talking. Challenges will be plenty, friends. But the beauty lies that how do we make them consider their own selves with a lot of positivity. And as a teacher, as I said, that our role is now as a facilitator and as a guide. And seeking out the creativity. And seeking out creativity will come when there is no spoon feeding. When we allow the child to do the work, learning to do the things. Maybe with the experiential learning, we can talk about. And finding a role model or mentor. Ask a child to write down a role model. Who's a role model for him or her? And to our own, amusement, you'll find that children have, today's child is far ahead than what we think about them. They're well aware. Only the problem is of confusion and conflict, which acts as a barrier in creating a positive me, the self. And peer budding. Peer budding is a very common concept nowadays. I'm sure my dear friends must be exercising this concept in the classroom. Buddy system, a friend. Now, who's a friend? A friend who is there for the positive constructivism of the meaningful work in the classroom situation and outside the classroom situation. So, if I ask you to write down, could you please tell me that what are the challenges which we are facing as a teacher in a classroom? I would request you to please come up. The challenges faced by us, which are acting as a detrimental or which are playing a very detrimental role for the students in knowing their own selves, in knowing themselves. Yeah. So we'd already talked about personal identity, well, which refers to the attributes of a person that makes her different from others. And the social identity refers to those aspects of the person that link her to group, professional, social, or cultural. So, at no point, dear friends, we can underestimate the social identity of ourselves and our students. So, now, personal identity, when we talk about personal identity, how can we develop? We are talking about habits. And fortunately, as I say, that we all are home scientists, which teaches the life skills, the basic life skills for the human existence. This is the only subject which is laying a lot of stress upon values, habits, hygiene, personality, emotions, goals, and so on. Interest. You take up any chapter of class 6 or 7th or 8th, all the things would revolve around these various components of personal identity. When we talk about the country, it's not that the country is having any dearth of resources. The only thing when we talk about it, it's, we feel that, okay, we need to sensitize people, we need to have the mindset. And now our children are attending personality classes, they're attending special career classes, which was in the previous time, which was a part of, growing up. There was no separate courses for it because home science was given a lot of importance. When it comes to the family, when it comes to the relation, when it comes to the self. So these were the few things which I think we all must carry on further. Now, here, when we talk about social identity, in this slide, dear friends, I've tried to show that perception of self and others based on the social groups that one belongs to. Today, we can see when we talk about diversity, when we can talk about various other things, but at the same time, we can see somewhere some demarcation in the social strata as well. So how I have been perceived by my colleagues, by my friends, by my higher ups. And social identity becomes a larger part of our own self, our own personal identity. Now, coming, because this social identity, dear friends, as you can see, what others think about, I would request you all that these exercise to be, taken up in the classes. And yes, when we talk about self-concept, as I've already discussed with you, is talking about our qualities, our feelings, our thoughts. Only thing that let's open up. It's okay not to be okay. At times, you have to be in order to know the solution, you need to identify the problematic areas of a child. or of our own self. So now, next when we talk about self-concept, we understand that there are goals, the social abilities, beliefs, and values. Having strong value system, we expect. I also do expect that, okay, everything shall be around with me. We are going to have a very good energizer also once I finish with this. But at the same time, it becomes very important for me to make my students understand that nothing can be achieved by sitting in a comfort zone. The students need to have that effort zone, an effort zone with lot of positivity, having sticking to the goals, short-term goals. So now I'm talking about another very important aspect of self, which is related to self-esteem. Number of times we come across that there are people who, despite having everything in life, possess very low self-esteem. Their self-esteem, what how much they value themselves. Of course, it is based upon your societal perception about others also. So self-esteem is a very important component of knowing self. The moment, if I use little, if I tell my student that why it is some work is not done and what problem you had, and then maybe in the past remark that why were you not able to do it, and you are never able to do it or something like that, it affects. Because to understand ourselves, it's better that we shall always empathize, put ourselves into somebody else's shoes, and especially when we are dealing with young children, grown up children, adolescents. And then factors which impact the self-esteem, we understand how we compare, comparisons. But during COVID-19, dear friends, one thing which has come out very positive, that people have understood the importance of just the basic essentials. And basic essentials not only in terms of fulfilling the basic necessities. We all understood the importance of the relation, importance of the family. And then by and by, the moment we understand, and there is no comparison, we all came, everyone came on one platform during lockdowns or unlockdowns. So these are the messages. And how everyone, and especially hats off to you all educators, without thinking about your own self, you took up the national cause, the world cause, this pandemic cause, and were ready to help others, ready to commit yourself and in a responsible manner for the various responsibilities given to all of you or all of us. So here, one important thing I want to just convey: when we compare ourselves to others and find ourselves lacking it, it can have a negative impact on the self-esteem. So this we have to make our children understand. Because the moment I talk about three C's, three C's are basically related to the connect, the communication, and the confidence. And when the moment the children are able to do over this, there will be a lesser impact on them for the negative side. So, well, this image itself is talking about. Just look at this image. What does it show? Can somebody put it in the chat box? That what does this image show? I'm showing there is an image on the screen. What does this image show? What does it talk about? Yeah, I would request to please write down. Yes. What does it show? This image. we are seeing on the screen. And what does it show? Somebody has written, we are what we perceive ourselves, very rightly said. Confidence. Seema Thakur ma'am had written, confidence, brave, absolutely courageous. Very well said. Seema ma'am is writing, yes, Seema Goswami ma'am, brave. Very well said. Inner self is stronger than your outer persona. So somewhere the cat consider itself as brave, yes, confident, high perceptions on oneself. So that means the positive perception. Right? So, dear friends, we understand that it's very important for our children also to get into the good self, high self esteem. Now, moving on to my next slide, as I said, that webinar will unfold about the characteristics of the infancy also. So, we understand the self is multidimensional in nature because when I talk about self, I'm sure we talk about physical self, emotional self, mental self, and so on. So as a person grows and develops from an infancy, which is from 0 to 2 years, and to an adolescence, early childhood years, middle childhood years, and to an adolescence, we understand that the self-awareness is not very clearly defined. They are dependent upon their immediate wants, immediate desires, immediate satisfaction of their smaller goals. They're happy. No self recognition, right? And at the same time, no self understanding. But as a child grows older, during his early childhood, his physical description, then they would say, yeah, I am taller than him, or I've got nice bicycle than him, and so on. Things they can do, they can count, overestimate themselves. They know everything, which can fix everything. Suddenly they become superman. And the best example which I had come across, if you ask them, how was the paper, how have you done, ma'am, all very simple, all well done, absolutely. So somewhere they are in a habit of little putting overestimations to their own selves, and unable to recognize the different attributes, because as this image you can see, is talking about conservation of liquid. So these are the various or volume. So these are the various attributes when we talk about early childhood. Now the moment the child comes into the middle childhood, you would make a yes, gradually, dear friends, self is something which is not developed overnight, something which is not done just after attending few personality module classes or so on. It is gradually developing, where we need to understand our own self for the better positive environment, where we shall be aware. So we are talking about more refined self-concept, social comparisons, emphasize competencies, both positive and negative. And the moment we talk about competencies, that means having the necessary ability or knowledge or skill to do something successfully. Somebody is able to make a beautiful composition from the wood. And there is another student in your class who's developed a competency. The kind of composition he or she creates, nobody else can create. So, emphasizing on the competencies, both positive as well as negative, because negative gives us a direction to move on towards the positive side. And cognitive development. When we talk about cognitive development, we understand that it's a complete process of understanding, hypothetical deductive thinking, perception, memorizing, etc. So cognitive development affects structure of self-concept, your different perceptions, perspective. What's your take on to a particular thing? So, social and cultural, of course, as we say that there are various factors, because the culture, the system, the social metrics in which a child lives in. And of course, there is always a comparison between real self and ideal self. So, when we talk about Erikson stages, I will just take a quick recap. It's there on the slide, and I'm sure Neha ma'am is going to provide all the content. We're talking about trust versus mistrust. All my life, my self concept, my self esteem, my self identity, I had not nurtured it. And how would I suddenly develop a feeling of trust? So, developing a sense of trust, then autonomy, that means ability to do the things, independence. And that's what our new education policy says. They're planning that from class 6 onwards, children should be allowed to work as an intern, will be allowed to go for more of the field, surveys and exposures. Learning by seeing, learning by doing, and then initiative. Normally in our classrooms also we see that, yes, you've given a task, only few would take initiative, but the success lies that when there is a horizontal growth of students, not vertically, not only picking up just 5 6 and moving ahead with our goals as a teacher, moving ahead with our lesson plans, LOs, learning outcomes or learning objectives. If we are able to say out of the class of 40 to 50 students, if 25 we are able to touch upon, we can inculcate the feeling of taking initiative, industry, hardworking, or knowing themselves, we have achieved our targets, dear friends. And now I'm quickly moving on to the next one. Pointers to gear up self-understanding for students, though I've already covered it up in my previous 10 minutes. It says that knowledge, facts, informations, and skills acquired. Skills are very, very essential to do something, you know. And when I say to do something, and one acquires a precision. Skill India, suddenly so many schemes, suddenly so many policies are launched. For whom they were launched? For the future citizen of this country, the children. Because if we are able to give them a childhood or the school education full of all these important modules, concepts, domains, they will be able to develop in a better way, and eventually the country would produce happy individuals and productive individuals. Self-reliant India we were talking about. So real life education, pool of knowledge outside the traditional classroom. And very fortunately, I mean, at times I feel that we are all blessed that whatever we are studying in our curriculum, maybe in a very simpler manner, dear friends, the books which we are doing with our students for class 6 or 7th, 8th were written way back, but take them as roots. Wings are in our hand. The latest researches are in our hand. The latest whatever the developments which are there in our hand, even if when I'm taking a small chapter on how to wash clothes, what are the different steps in laundering the clothes, then very important. Because I don't know how many of you had you can raise your hand, the image which I had shown you, that self awareness, somewhere it was talking about PTSD. Now, PTSD means post traumatic stress disorders. The previous pandemic in 1918 had left its mark for a very long time, for 3 years, dear friends. So, knowing PTSD, that, and hence suddenly the well being, overall well being. Wellness talks about your health, and well being talks about your happiness, satisfaction, a sense of purpose. As I already said, work as a calling. Work as a career is definitely there. Work as a livelihood is definitely there. So, any work, me being a teacher, you being an educator, teacher, or our children being students, they are learners. So, and then we are talking about beliefs being acceptance that something exists or is true, choices, the two possibilities. Dear friends, if we are able to make these pointers with our children, I'm sure we will be able to make a mark in their lives. And then here I want to just talk about I'm sorry, dear friends, I'm talking about metacognitive, thinking about my own processes, thinking about my cognition. So, there only I told you that when we talk about making a diary or a journal, in our subject, we can always ask them to make think about their own exercises, the kind of exercise, the assignment which they had submitted, which seeking out the creativity out of them. Now, social, emotional, as well as physical. So these are self-understanding modules where we give them very open-ended choice so that they can write about it. And then transformative modules, as I was discussing with you, learning, relearning, and unlearning. We all are learning officers, because daily I feel that there's something new learning when I was going through the chat answers. So these were there. And then, of course, meeting the challenges of post pandemic in shaping a better me, owing responsibility, reconciling past, present, and assuming purposeful and efficient self. Okay, so here we quickly come out with the strategies for self understanding. That means imbibing the principles of Ubuntu, that we all are together and we all are responsible. We cannot move in isolation. Building self reliance, self esteem, ability to integrate art, culinary skills, and the entire CBSE schools are going ahead with their art integrated learning, art integrated projects, and so on. So here when we talk about self awareness, the ultimate objective is to empower ourselves and raising happiness by aligning ourselves with action. That's very important. So, cultivating the important aspects of self awareness, we understand we can give these small exercises to the students. We can ask them that hug a family, compliment, magic of gratitude and gratefulness. Make a box and ask them that to put a slip that what are their blessings in life, and the reward chemical, when you give a 1 star, your one good to a student makes a lot of difference for him or her. So self-care activities and celebrating small wins and victories, pampering self. And I would just say that I smile, you smile, and we all smile. Pick up any one caption, make it the target for your goal for understanding better me. And then, of course, activities quotient. We all have been doing happiness reading quotient. Dear friends, it's very important that the children should read the autobiographies of great people, of great minds. So, inspirational story quotient, laughter quotient, understanding self with self esteem inventory, and then ultimately managing who am I. As I told you, managing emotions, we can always balance, we can make a balancing chart that what are the emotions and which emotions I experience quite often. Somewhere will give us the basic guideline about that. And without taking much of the time, we understand NEP vision, because I thought that new education policy is on the way. So why not use its tenets for self-understanding and self-reliance? Honorable Prime Minister, sir, had given us the call of Atmanirbhar India, local for vocal. So all these things, all our areas would actually help us out in achieving those targets and goals. So early childhood care, we are talking about foundational literacy and numeracy, then curtailing dropouts and ensuring universal access to education. The classrooms, the more the interactive, the better self, there will be definitely lesser dropout rate. And learning should be holistic, integrated, and enjoyable. Empowering through students through our sports integration, art integration, we understand, and knowledge of India to modern India. The moment I said that from roots to wings, let's take our country, because you are the heads, you are dealing with those children, the ones who are going to be the future citizen, the productive citizen of this great nation. Equity and inclusion, because we understand that in a class we need to understand, because there will be children with the different needs, with the different differential abilities. So these are some of my acknowledgements which I have used. So well, here is a quiz I would be sharing, because Neha ma'am is giving me a message that the time is going to be up for this session. Over to Neha ma'am. Neha ma'am, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for this wonderful session.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
have. Do we have 2 minutes time, Neha ma'am?
Yes,
Because
ma'am,
there
we
is,
have. Yes, we
we
have.
have.
We do have. Yeah. You can then
Yeah. So
continue with the next session as well.
yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Shall we make it interactive, or because I
Yeah.
just wanted to show
Ma'am, you
this?
can. You can. You can do
Yeah.
that.
This is a small quiz, because in my you can download it, and here I'm starting with this. We can have some sort of a quiz on understanding. It will be fun loving. You can all take